Good there. We are good.
Looks like we're
What's
live,
up, guys? Dual Coast Podcast, episode 6. We are live right now. It is February 11th, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5:30 a.m. West Coast time. Chris, what time is it in Puerto Rico right now? 9:30.
9:30 Island time, guys.
9:30 Island time, guys.
That's beautiful.
No question of who we got with us today. Chris Michael Rushing right here live with us from Puerto Rico. He's hanging out. He's on vacation right now.
So glad
Guys,
to be here. So good
Chris,
to be here, guys.
Chris is a personal development coach, fitness expert, former Marine. He is a motivational speaker joining with us live today. Guys, we are super excited to have him. Chris, how you feeling down there?
Hey, man, I'm great. It's going to be tough to go home after this. We're chilling.
I believe that.
I'm tuned out. Very excited to be here, though.
Yeah,
Is
thank
that,
you so
is
much
that
for
your
being
first
with
time
us.
in Puerto Rico?
Yeah.
My first time with my daughters. Yeah,
Okay.
first time with my daughter. I had a whole build-up, right? They're a quarter Puerto Rican. I'm half. And so I told this whole story about the Spanish came and the native Tainos all spread throughout the world. And anybody with Taino blood or Puerto Rican blood eventually finds their way back because they're a quarter Puerto Rican. That's why we're going back. So I built it up. So they're excited.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
You have a lot of family there?
No, I wasn't raised with that side. So it's
Okay.
me getting in touch with my ancestors, really.
Oh,
you
wow.
know? Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Where in Puerto Rico are you right now?
We're staying in Ponce because it's where my father, who I didn't grow up with, my father's family was from. It's also central, so we can rent a Jeep, make it fun. So we're going to take off and just kind of see, all the Googling places. I have a friend that I met online here, and her family's from here, so she's giving us some places to visit. So we're just kind of winging it.
Nice,
Winging it by
man.
ear. Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Really cool. That sounds
Yep.
fun. That
Yeah.
sounds fun. Well, we'll dive right in, guys. So, Chris, we're just going to throw a couple of questions, have a big conversation together, go at it a little bit. So, you're big with the personal development side of things. You do motivational speaking.
I got a little technical. Hold on.
Okay. You with you?
Can't hear you all of a sudden.
How about now?
Bear with me.
You're good. You're good.
That's what happens. Okay. I'm just taking these off.
It's all good, man.
Let's go again.
Good now. That actually sounds really good. That actually sounds really good.
Take two.
Yeah,
Take
you're going to hear the streets, but that's it.
No, it's cool. We
Still
got you
good.
now. So, Chris, you're big into the personal development side of things, motivational speaking, fitness, and everything like that. What would you say is the best piece of personal development advice you've ever received from somebody?
I've had so many references because I do a lot of work every day.
Yeah.
Every day. It doesn't stop. You don't get to a plateau and go, bam, I'm here, right?
Yeah.
So the best thing that I ever realized from the research that I've done, the growth that I've experienced, is lean in. Lean in. That's stuff that's uncomfortable. You start a new relationship and all those things start coming up again. You're like, well, this isn't going to work. Turn and face it. Why is it going to work? You have a pattern. You're making decisions based on something.
Yeah.
Get in there, man. Get in there. When you lean into something, you become comfortable with it. Then you can navigate it. Is it rational? Have I been carrying this for a long time? And where did it come from? Does it make my life better? Does it make my life worse?
Right.
Are you judging people based on something someone did in your past a long time ago? Is that holding you back? Lean in. Those things you're afraid of. Here's one of the biggest things in my life. And people wonder, they ask me, how are you so comfortable getting on stage when everyone else is so afraid? Because fear is irrational, man. Unless it's going to kill you and going in, unless it's going to kill you, what are you afraid of?
Yeah.
The only thing you can anticipate is growth. So lean into that stuff.
Yep.
Lean into it. And the lessons on the other side. That's the biggest thing, really. That's kind of how I gauge everything.
Yeah. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
I
amazing.
totally agree. Russ, what do I say to you all the time? Put yourself in the room, right? You just got to put yourself in the room.
baby.
Doesn't
Yeah.
matter who's there.
I love
Put
that.
yourself in the
I
room.
love that.
I always say that. Russ uses that mantra still to this day.
Put yourself in the room.
100%.
Yeah.
You talked, hey, Chris, you talked about, the plateau, right? Getting up to the top, right? And I remember years ago going to a conference with John Maxwell. And
Yeah.
he said if you're striving to get to the top and you get to the top, what you're striving for, he said you better know what to do when you get there. How do you feel about that statement?
Man, listen. It's interesting because I see versions of myself. I did a post about this recently. I had a conversation, hypothetical, with my 18-year-old self, my 28-year-old self, my 35-year-old self, my 45-year-old self, and then I'm 54 right now, so my 54-year-old self. And then I want to have a conversation with that guy I see at 64, and I'm going to go, man, woo, we did it. And I'm going to sit back and go, isn't the view beautiful?
Yeah.
Isn't the view beautiful? If I can look back and say, man, I wasn't selfish. I helped as many people as I could along the way. I maintained a good perspective no matter what I was going through. And I look up and say, God, thank you. All this stuff that sometimes we hold on to and we make ourselves feel victim to, they're all lessons. When I get to the end, I'm like, yes, it makes sense. And thank you so much for the ride. Thank you so much for the lessons, And now I can just sit here. Be happy. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's awesome.
That's so funny. Chris, so, we've done a couple of episodes and stuff like that about putting yourself out there, taking that first step towards, fitness, whatever it might be, even personal development, anything in your life where you get out of your comfort zone, you take that first step towards it.
Yeah.
What would you say is something that you'd have the biggest mind shift that people would need to have in order to take that first step? To achieve their goals? Like, what's the mindset you have to have? How would you take that first step? How would you get into that mindset? Human
nature has us, we're full of good intention, right? We're saying, man, I'm going to start on Monday.
Yeah.
Man, I'm going to start this year. I'm going to start at the end of this month.
Yeah.
And then something gets in the way, right? So I would say, first of all, make a list of all of the excuses that you know that you make, and then get up 20 minutes earlier.
That's
just
good.
Get up 20 minutes earlier. Even if you're kind of staring around, what do I do? Get up 20 minutes earlier. Then the next morning, get up 20 minutes earlier and start to breathe. Start to add habits that become, or start to add things that become patterns, that become habits. Because we're setting ourselves up to fail, thinking that we're going to continue the same routine and add something else to that.
Yeah.
Because then it becomes, well, I didn't get up early enough. I'm going to train, or I'm going to do my mobility or my meditation after work. One of the biggest mistakes we make is actually planning that our day is going to go a certain way. If we were living one dream and then no one else was living a dream parallel to ours that's going to cross and collide and stuff, yeah, we can do that. But the only way we can control how our day is going to go, how our intentions are going to go, and ensure success in starting a new plan. I want to get fit. I want to get clear. I want to get more mobile. Is to take the time that's yours. That's just yours, and that means getting up early. I got up today at, what time would it have been? I got up 3 hours before we're supposed to do this, right? I got up, I made my coffee, I did my breath work, I gave thanks to God for this life, and I do that every single day. And then I move, right? And then I move. Even when I'm home and I have a client at 5:30, I'm getting up at least an hour early so I can do that, set my perspective for the day. You got to make a list of things you know are going to get in your way. Things, be honest with yourself. Again, go in, right? Lean in and start to tick those off. I'm not going to do that anymore. If you want to be somebody that you're not, you got to take away those things that hold you back and keep you the way you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Making a list is probably actually a great tactic because you get that visual recognition every single morning of looking at that list, because most people will probably just make that list in their mind, but then ignore it. But when you see that visually hanging on your wall every day, and you see that you do this, and this, you could actually cognitively look at it and say, okay, like, I haven't done this today. I'm not doing this today. I'm not doing this today. As opposed to making that list in your head, because sometimes even myself, I'm guilty. I'll make that list in my head. I got to get up early, but it doesn't happen. But if that was written on my wall every single day, and I look at it before I go to sleep, and I look at it when I wake up, that probably would have that recognition and keep going and keep going and going, so you can make that change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a list on my mirror. I have a list of what I want my life to look like, how I'm working towards it. And all over my house, including my dryer, I have a list of the next income bracket I want to be in. So it's a constant reminder. And here's another thing to think about. If you are choosing a partner, you have certain things you want to tick off about them, right? You're choosing the person that you feel like would make you the most full, that would make you the most happy. You got to put boundaries on yourself. You got to be accountable to yourself, even if it's eating a smaller portion of this. If it's going a little harder at this, it's 30 minutes of this and 30 minutes of this. You got to make yourself accountable, man.
Yeah.
You know, the same way you would when you're choosing your friends or a potential partner.
Yeah.
Because if you aren't that person that you see, you know, being a potential partner, that person who's looking for you isn't going to see you either. You know?
Right.
So it's work. It's constant work, and it's so rewarding. It's just something you become. It's who you are. Who do you want to be? Become that.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
That's awesome. Well,
Yeah.
you know, I think when you're talking about, you know, your own personal development, you know, you've got a couple of girls, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I want to ask you, and we're going to go lighter, but yet we're going to go to that kid connection.
Okay.
How do your children play into your motivation and your encouragement on a daily basis?
As a father, I want to always be making their life better, right? their opportunities and their options better.
Sure.
If I was doing it just for them, then it's useless. I want to make my life better and constantly become a better man so that I can do that, so they can see the example that I lead.
I love that.
Right? So if
Yeah.
I've told them, because listen, man, you stumble along the way. I was raised in a single parent household with not a lot of love, and it made me feel a certain way about myself. And then I made decisions based on that little kid that was inside of me. And it was sometimes it was self-destructive. A lot of times it was self-destructive. And you know what? My daughters are 6 and 8. They already know who I was, that I'm not that anymore, and that I've grown from it. How can I have a talk with my daughters about drinking, about drugs, about decisions, if I'm not relating to them that I've gone through this and a reason? How do I explain to them why daddy's stressed out if I don't tell them, hey, I love you so much, and dads are under a lot of pressure? I'm honest with them.
Yeah.
I'm honest with them so they know. I can't sugarcoat it. So many times I see parents being kind of like friends with their kids. No, go in. You know, this is a little soul that's chosen you to take them through life. You know, now you're exposed. You can grow from that, right? My daughter said to me the other day, and this was I guess it's been a few months. She goes, Daddy, after having such a hard life, how are you such a good dad? Oh, the heavens open up, you know? I'm
There
like,
it is.
I'm doing something right.
Yeah.
I'm doing something right. And so I look at them and I talk to them like little people, and I just feel humbled. I feel humbled.
Yeah.
You know, that they chose me to be the ones that, you know, that navigates with them through life. So
That's amazing.
yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah, I remember, you know, Bill Burr, the comedian.
Yeah.
You know, he was talking about his kids when they were young and stuff like that. And he said, you know, I woke up early one day and I've got a quiet morning. I've got breakfast. I'm sitting there all by myself, you know, and then all of a sudden I get a phone call, you know, and all of a sudden it's like, you know, and he's all irate now. And his daughter comes in and she's like, Daddy, what's going on? And he goes, you know, sometimes I have to respond to this and yell at my phone. You know? So they see us in those intense moments too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
You know, I love the example. I love, you know, it sounds like you're an amazing dad, and
Yeah.
you're in
try.
Puerto Rico right now, spending quality
Definitely,
time with
man.
them.
Yeah.
You know, that's
Yeah.
tremendous. Being the example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not easy. It's not easy. And I want to say, hey, I'm a great dad. I do get a lot of feedback from people who say, man, your daughters are gonna turn out really well because we can see the connection with you. And that's really all I want. Not that I need feedback on that, but for, you know, there's no guidebook. There are guidebooks, but I think they're nonsense.
Yeah.
It's trial and error, right? So you figure it out as you go. And it's good to get feedback where people say, hey, you know, they're going to be very happy that they had you as a dad. And that's my purpose. You know, that's a big part of my purpose. Not just that, because I take care of myself as well, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's good. Really good to hear. So
Yeah.
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 You get that feedback, man. That's amazing. Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
And I feel like you taking care of yourself also leads kind of by example, right, Chris? Like the way you do things, you know, your daughters can follow suit with that.
Yeah.
The way you take care of yourself, your mobility training, your training, they all see like that hard work that goes into yours, you know,
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
It's all setting the example. You know, it's like Daddy doesn't miss. You guys come down with me. You can look at this is your tablet time if you want, or
Right.
you can work out with me. And sometimes they do. Sometimes I actually train them. But they're seeing this good example. Yeah, they're seeing this good example, and they're physical. You know, they're seeing that, and they're seeing that the energy is, you know, is different when you're meditating, when you're training, when your perspective is good. You know, so yeah.
Yeah, I feel like you get the clarity out of a lot of things like that. You know, you could get the training aspect, the mobility and stuff like that, the waking up early. And, you know, me and Russ have had this conversation a bunch of times where you could kind of progress from that, like in on all aspects of life, not just training. You know, it kind of like, you know, just keeps piling and piling and piling. Now you wake up earlier, you could get more done. Now you accomplish this, fitness goals, financial goals, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And it just keeps compiling.
It sets a tone for everything you do. Yeah.
That's a tone. Exactly.
The biggest thing that comes from that too is not just jumping into your day all stressed out, bringing stuff from the next day. If you can start out, again, giving yourself a few extra minutes just to set your perspective, and while this is overused, to show gratitude for everything. Just that's another thing. Make a list of the things you're grateful for, not the things that could happen or the things that already happened. Make a list every day. I look up the sky, I'm like, I'm humbled. You know what I mean? That, wow, look at that cloud. Look at the color of the sky. Look at the reality that I get another day when so many other people don't or aren't today. Simple. And you walk into your day like that, makes everything, the energy that you exchange with people makes everything different. You know, you're in control. We're in control, man. We decide, you know,
without a doubt. Yeah, I agree.
Love that, man.
It's awesome. Chris, is there any like you know, we touched on it a little bit, but any resources that you've come across throughout your fitness journey, throughout any of your journeys in personal development and stuff like that, or resources or books that have had a great impact on your life in general, like quotes or anything like that that's, you know, really resonate with you?
Yes. Well, I have 3 Bibles, if you will.
Okay.
That I gravitate towards. One is by Pima Chodron, and it's called When Things Fall Apart. And it's one of those things where I can go to a coffee shop and sit there, eat my breakfast, sip some coffee, and every single passage is a wow moment, right? And so I don't have to read the whole book. I'll read like a page and a half and be like, wow, this is what I'm gonna move forward with. When Things Fall Apart by Pima Chodron. The Mastery of Love. I think it's Paulo Coelho. I should have been more prepared for this. I knew you were going to ask me. Okay. Mastery of Love. He's got some other books in the series called like The Mastery of Self and things like that. And then the 4 Agreements. The 4 Agreements is a big one. And I have a friend. Let me give a little shout out to Malocchio, Jesse Morgan, from Malocchio Style. He uses the 4 Agreements. He said he went through a really rough time with substance abuse, and he said they're giving it to people when they get out of rehab to really reset their life. So that's powerful. You're kind of in a dark place, and all of a sudden you're being taught to push your chest back out and take control. It's not over. These decisions you made, it's not over if you're still alive, right? And so, the 4 Agreements is a big one. The Alchemist. It's been around for a long time, and I reread it. It's just
really,
I mean, there's been people. I believe there are people who are sent here that have more vision, that are more enlightened about things, and they're sent here because they're meant to spread this word. You know, spread this word. And so I would say, Mastery of Love, Mastery of Self, the 4 Agreements. When Things Fall Apart by Pima Chodron, and so many other things. I find things daily, of course, that I refer to. The Stoicism. I read a lot of Stoicism stuff. Marcus Aurelius. And it depends. I believe that all men should be warriors. All men should be tested. We should know to anticipate and how to deal with violence, and then not have to. You know what I'm saying? I believe we should all train. We should get punched in the face so we know what it feels like, literally and figuratively. so that we can find some zen, so we can find some peace, knowing that it's out there. We navigate life that way, not be blindsided by it and be completely helpless to it, and really enrich our minds, train our body, and just be ready, be prepared, man. You know?
Yeah,
That's
absolutely
awesome.
agree. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Agree.
You know, you live by 4 pillars.
Yeah. Yes.
You've got 4 pillars in your life.
Yes.
Mindset, mobility, nutrition, and Warrior's Way.
Yep.
Now,
in that order.
Warrior's Way, it kind of leaves it out there as a question. We'll come back to that.
Yes. Yeah.
But of the 3 that I mentioned, mobility, nutrition, and mindset, what do you think, Chris, is one of those 3? Which do you think people struggle with the most on a daily basis and need the most guidance in?
Mindset goes like this: human nature, right?
Yep.
Bing, 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 bing. We're stimulated by all kinds of madness. Again, we have to protect what we let in, because whatever we let in, we're going to have to face, right?
Yes.
We'll have thoughts sometimes. We're like, man, am I crazy? No, you observed something. Just like when you wake up in the morning, you have a decision to make. Am I going to be positive? Am I going to be negative? What am I giving power to here? Right?
Yeah.
And as clear as I can be, if I was living, again, going back to this, if I'm in my lane, living my own dream, if there was no one else living their dream where I know I'm going to collide with them, I'm going to cross paths with them, I'm good. If I have no other outside stimulation, I'm good. I'm positive. I'm moving along. That's not real, though. That's not reality. Like, you will get cut off on the highway. You're just minding your own business. I'm happy. I'm all full to zen. You get cut off on the highway and you go like this. And you're like, wait, why am I feeling this way? Why can't I just take it for what it is? Right. It's a work in progress. So mindset is my first pillar, because that is most important. That can throw everything else off.
Yeah.
You can, again, talking about boundaries for yourself, nutrition being the second pillar. If your mindset is good, you're not going to go, man, I just need to eat this cake because I need a quick fix, or I need to drink this beer, this whiskey, because, man, I'm having a stressful day. Wait a second, back up to the mindset part. That's where you should deal with that stuff, right? Nutrition, Listen, God gave us a body. Our quality of life is based on our health and how we walk through this life. We can be, obese and out of shape and have health issues and be laying in bed and be, man, I'm so happy for this life, but it doesn't show, because are we experiencing life? No. So nutrition, what we put in, is so important. And then as we get older, again, I'm 54, I have my clients start with me, and sometimes for month and a half, 2 months, we don't pick up a weight. We move.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? We move and we breathe. Once you can move and once you're bulletproof, you're not going to get hurt, then we'll start lifting. Then we'll start getting strong, right? So finding your power. If you're 50-some years old, you're like, man, I want to get back in shape. You're still talking about 11th grade when you were, your team went to state championship for football. And you're like, you know what I'm saying? No, man. I have, and you'll see a lot of my posts, mobility. People are like, well, he's doing mobility again. Yeah, and guess what? I can move better than I could when I was 25.
Yeah.
That's finding your power. Your power. So mindset, being able to get up every day, even when you don't want to, and going, woo, I am so blessed to have this life. I'm going to act accordingly. Nutrition, what am I putting in? I'm putting boundaries on myself. When I'm with my daughters, I'm going to taste that frozen yogurt. I'm going to have one slice of that pizza. I'm still going to live, but I'm not going to, I'm not going to go crazy, because it's how you feel about yourself. When you eat, you feed yourself as if you're feeding someone you love, because you are, right? So that's number 2. Mobility, man. Woo! When you can't move, that's a black cloud over you. Going, oh man, okay, now you're giving into gravity and time. You don't have to. Start moving. And let's talk about the Warrior's Way.
Yes.
The Warrior's Way is a discipline, but it's also necessary, not just for men, for women too. My little peanut, Tiger Lily, she's 8 years old. She's smallest in her class. She just had her second jiu-jitsu competition, and she got a gold and a silver. She's skinny. She's motivated. She's focused. I think everyone should be tested. And so, again, you can allow yourself to be vulnerable. If you're always like this, I mean, how many times you see a guy cross paths with another guy, they start getting loud, and or somebody demanding respect when you don't need to, you can just keep it moving. Once you know that you don't have to get into anything, you don't have to command respect, you don't have to let that person affect your life, because you know if something was to go down, you can handle yourself.
Yeah.
That brings a certain confidence. I have a client who's 70, short guy, ballroom dancer his whole life, amazing. I put gloves on him, and we started hitting the mitts, and he goes, Chris, I feel like I can defend myself. Imagine walking around New York City your whole life, small in stature, just being afraid of everything.
Yeah.
And that changes everything. That's part of the balance. I'm not saying go out there and get in a fight. Too many guys are full of this alpha male nonsense, where they go out and they, talk bad about women and get, punch each other in the face. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about be tested. See what it feels like to get punched in the face and recover. See what it feels like to be disciplined and learn something, because that can never be taken away from you. Those are my pillars: mindset, nutrition, mobility, the warrior's way. That's how I live, and that's what I teach.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I feel like most people don't really get tested to that degree, and it's good to probably be prepared for certain things like that, because you can actually walk through life a little bit more confident, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I totally agree with you. Like, look at your daughter. She's going to be prepared. Doesn't mean she has to have that aggression, doesn't have to use that aggression, but she can harness that aggression at all times and just be prepared.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's the thing, because we talk about bullying. Bullying is another thing I'm actually taking on as a project. Talk about bullying. And I've told them, I said, one of your friends that you're going to be friends with one day, the next day she's going to be mean to you, and you're not going to know why. And it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do about how she feels about herself. The great equalizer is this person's not going to come and push you or punch you or do anything like that, because you can handle yourself. Not that you have to, but you can. So you can walk away from that and say, you know what, this isn't about me, this is about you. One of the worst things in life, and I went through this when I was too skinny to stick up for myself, one of the most helpless feelings in life is feeling like you're helpless, being bullied by someone, right? Who might be older, might be bigger in stature than you. That's the great equalizer. It really is the great equalizer. And it brings some peace. It brings peace to your life.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. It actually ties really well into my next question I was going to ask you, Chris, because I was actually going to ask you, how can people push past their self-doubt was my next question. And that actually ties very much into the pillars you just kind of pretty much touched on. Yeah. Very much like the warrior's way, how they could actually progress from that. Instead of doubting themselves, they could gain that confidence through those type of tactics. You agree with that?
I do. Here's the thing. Here's where doubt comes from. Doubt comes from fear. Again.
Yeah.
Fear is irrational. Everybody watching you is as afraid as you are, as afraid as you are. Right? Yeah. When you're up there doing that speech and you're shaking, everyone watching you is glad that they're not the one up there. If you think about it like that, take away that fear, that doubt. My daughter lost one of her matches, and I told her ahead of time. I go, we're not sure what's going to happen. If you lose some, that's one of the best lessons ever, because you can take the lesson from that. You can dissect that and say, okay, what did I do? What did I need to work on and become better next time? And it's I can't remember which book it is. It talks about our domestication.
Yeah.
You've never seen a 2-year-old kid on an airplane that's afraid to sing out loud and scream and go, hey, how you doing? Or anything like that.
True.
We lose that as adults tell us, wait, you can't do that. But wait, I was playing. No, wait, you can't do that. We put our adult sensibilities on the kids, right? I want my daughters and parents to think about this. I want them to be able to be kids as long as possible. Go draw on the wall. Yep. Because it's just a wall. We'll throw it off. Go run around and act crazy. Get it out. Be a kid. Our domestication is one of the most fatal things ever, because it creates fear of being judged. Yeah. That's what this entire social media thing is. The likes. Oh my God, I didn't get enough likes. When you sit back and look at it, who cares? What kind of authentic life are you really living? That's what matters. Your own personal journey. So fear, it's so irrational. When we can live for ourselves, when we can see clearly, there's no doubt. What are you doubting? You doubt what you don't know. That's understandable. It's human. But when you look at it like after this, and this is a good point, because I was blessed enough to go in the Marine Corps at 18 years old.
Right.
There is no way in hell I was ever going to become a Marine in my mind. Guys with big names, Chesty Puller, Dan Daly, these guys become not Chris Rushing from small town northern Michigan, right? And then through the course of things being tested, I was like, wait a second. Something's, when we were playing, I'm writing my memoirs. It's a recent story because I'm only in 1989 now. It's taken a while. There's a story where they used to have us dump our Foot Locker. Too slow, get back. And everyone's stressing out. And I had it together at one point. And drill instructors noticed this. I'm like, oh, there's something to this. I'm seeing behind the smoke and mirrors what's happening. He's trying to break us.
Yeah.
I had it together all of a sudden. So I wasn't this small time kid that had doubts. I'm gonna snap my ankle. I'm not gonna qualify with the rifle. No way I'll get the title of a Marine. As I became tested and I started to get it together, at one point the drill instructor says, Rushing, when are you gonna rise to the occasion and become a squad leader? And I don't know how I got away with saying this. And I said, whenever you're ready, sir. And he wanted to go in on me. And the next day I became the 3rd squad leader and ended up graduating meritoriously at the end of the cycle. And that put to rest all of the doubts. I mean, I still, as an adult, other things came up, but that was the first part of me being tested to see who I was. Again, going back to being tested, so I could start gaining some confidence, start getting rid of those doubts. You start to collect these things, these obstacles that were intimidating at first, and then you own them. And then you shoot for more. You set higher goals, right? And that when you're doing that, life is no longer like this. Life is something you get up and you look forward to. I'm setting new goals, whether it's fitness, whether it's, financial again, or business, whatever that is. Yes, fail a lot. It's awesome. It's awesome for your soul, and start collecting those wins. You learn from them. You're not going to do it again. And then you're going to get to a point you're going to fail again. You go, okay, I'm asking God all the time when I'm going through rough stuff. Okay, what's the lesson here? Not, oh my God, I'm going to close the curtains and sit under this black cloud. No. Okay, what's the lesson here? Show me. Let's roll with it, And then you get on the other side and go, whoo, I know it's not personal. I was meant to learn from this,
Yeah, 100%. Have you ever seen that Jocko Willink skit where he goes through everything and somebody, he's like, oh, you got tapped out? He's like, good. Didn't get the promotion? Good.
I think so.
He goes, you learned. He goes, you learned.
Yeah.
And then from there, you could progress and stuff like that. That skit plays in my mind every morning when I wake up. It's like, oh,
I think I have. But that makes,
Yeah, he goes good every single time. Every single time something's bad, he goes good. He goes, you learn. You can progress. You can learn from this.
Through the tears, climb that mountain, through the tears, so you can get up there and turn around and see the view.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yes.
Yeah.
It's all about that. Send it. Because when I get up there and I'm looking at, like you said, when I get up there and I am at the top, I'll never be at the top. Because once I'm at the top, I'm going to look over the next peak and I'm going to go over there. But when I get up there and I look down, I'm like, woo, look at all that stuff I survived, man. Look at all that I survived. And I'm like, thank you. That's what life's about. Not staying down. It's not personal.
That's right.
It's not personal. It's meant for you to grow, all of it. So go, lean in.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned marine life. And, I want to say, thank you for your service.
That's Lulabelle.
Say hi. I love it. Yeah. Welcome to the show.
Special guest cameo, guys.
That's right. This is my 6-year-old.
All right. Hi, how are you?
How you doing?
What were you going to say?
Well, thank you for your service as a Marine. Really appreciate that to to our country. If there is a lot of guys, a lot of gals that come across, come away from like PTSD, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Is there a point in moment in your life as a Marine that you can recall that you go to on a maybe daily basis or maybe every once in a while in life? Is there something that you can draw from? Oh, now we got 2.
This is Tiger Lily. Say hi.
Hey, Tiger Lily.
Hi. Good morning. Oh, that's awesome.
Okay, guys, go. Let me finish it up. Go. Hey, listen to me. Go, please. You can come in a minute. No. 1 second.
Yeah, no problem.
Hey, look at me. Daddy's doing something. I need you to go brush your teeth. I'm serious. We're live. Go brush your teeth. Tiger Lily, take her. I knew this was going to happen. Hope you don't mind.
Oh, man.
Guys, go.
Good cameos.
Go.
That's
Sorry.
Awesome. No worries.
Say that if you don't mind.
No, I'm going to go to another story just for a second. But I remember, we go to hotels, right? And, because you're always teaching kids, don't jump on the bed. But, man, when we go to the hotel and I have my young kids, Like we would just jump. I mean, I would be up there with them. We'd jump and see how far we can launch from one bed to the other. And
then we broke. Yeah, we broke my bed in my apartment one time. Good thing it was under warranty. I'm like,
oh man. Anyway, Marine Life, thank you for your service. Yes. People struggle with things that come back from war, but on something that you can pull from that motivates you as a person from your time in the Marines. Tell us, is there a story? Is there a friend? Somebody that you have an ongoing relationship with, friendship with that, from the Marines or whatever that you could pull from that is really an encouragement to you?
I'm not sure I understand the question, Russell, for sure.
No problem. So is there somebody, when you were serving in the Marines, was there somebody or something, a story that you went through that you draw from, because people have come across our past, we get encouraged in life, from different people, different things. Is there something that you draw from in your life currently from your time as a Marine that really encourages you, that really lifts you up?
Actually, there's a lot of things. First of all, my war was Desert Storm, was quick, got over. And I'm thankful for that. There were guys that re-enlisted for Desert Storm that went in there with this fake bravado stuff. Man, I want to just kill somebody. And I looked at them like, no, you don't. Something's missing at home. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So going through that scenario, though, before the war got over, being 18, I got a Dear John letter from my high school girlfriend breaking up with me. That was my only connect. That was my lifeline, right?
Yeah.
And I had this recurring dream. I was in line in a line, what felt like a slaughterhouse, and the line moved up, and I could hear the sound, like a cow. Boom, fell off. Line moved up. Wait, I'm getting closer. Line moved up. I shook myself out of this dream. I had another dream where I was looking down the sights of my M16A2 service rifle, 18 years old, just broke up with my girlfriend. And on the end of my sights was a young Iraqi boy looking down his sights at me. He probably had a girlfriend, had a mother, thought about his future, and I better squeeze my trigger first. That's reality when you are 18, 19 years old in the Marine Corps, especially with the climate, the last 20 years. And so it helped me to relate with a lot of the guys that came after me to help without having been there, because that destroys you. It can destroy you unless you have a brotherhood. Being able to realize what someone's going through, if that was the starting point, and then they went through all the other stuff that they saw, what they had to do, things like that. In men's mental health is huge to me. They say take your biggest challenge and make it your business, right? And that's what I've had, because without getting into all kinds of detail, I had a really rough time, really rough life, rough childhood, rough young adulthood. So men's mental health is my passion.
That's awesome.
After 9/11, who knew? If I'm not in the room, I don't know what happened, what decisions were made. So I'm not a conspiracy theory guy. But after that happened, I was like, wait a second. These guys supposedly from Saudi Arabia did this thing, and now we're going to Iraq. That doesn't make much sense. And I didn't like the people in charge at the time, and I just thought, I knew what was coming. A whole generation of guys that should be falling in love, should be finding their business, should be starting a family. And instead, they're going to come back and have to deal with the trauma, and PTSD of war. And this is before, I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know that I shouldn't just be patriotic until I started reading books about Vietnam. And I knew there was and I was mad. I knew a whole generation of guys that were right behind me were going to have to deal with all these issues instead of going through the normal rites of passage that anybody not serving gets to go through.
Yeah.
And so in one of my friends that I went in with, he ended up doing 20 years, got out as a lieutenant colonel, was in Fallujah. He was working with Force Recon, and I sat one night with him, and we talked about everything. going on, and I got a really in-depth picture of what these guys are carrying with them, and sometimes it's too much. So, if anything, I got an extreme look through all of my experience in the Marine Corps with Marines, former and even current Marines. An extreme look at what PTSD and men's mental health looks like. So every day when I wake up and I go, man, thank you for this day. There's part of me in the back of my mind that says, thank you that it wasn't my time to go through that as I navigate these type of things. And I want to share one more story based on that, if I could.
Absolutely.
Right before I went in the Marine Corps, this is a big one. This is a big one, again, about men and not having a guidebook, having a lot of testosterone, no guidebook, and at birth, just the whistle blows, go. When I was in high school, I was about to go in the Marine Corps, and my girlfriend's grandfather and grandmother invited us to come over for dinner. I'm like, this guy doesn't like me. He thinks I'm a punk. Why is he inviting me over to the house? So when we got there, grandmother called my girlfriend at the time into the kitchen, and Johnny Fair was his name. He called me into his man cave, would be a man cave back then, and he was boiling a turkey, and he offered me scotch. I'm like, this guy wants to break bread. Yeah. Hell yeah, I'll drink with you. And so we drank together, and he started testing me. He goes, I know you're going to the Marine Corps. He goes, I bet you don't know this, but I served in World War II, and my ears, perked up. And I said, I didn't know that. He goes, I was a sniper. And he says something. I knew this was a test after. He goes, I could pick off the middle button on a man's coat. If I would have said, man, that's cool, what's it like to kill someone, then his story would have been much different. It might have just ended there. And I said, I'm really sorry you had to go through that. I had a pretty good sense of myself, I think, back then. I'm sorry you had to go through that. And the tone changed. We talked a little bit. He talked about a guy that served with him, and this man in his late 70s at the time choked up as he was telling me the story. And he says, can I show you something? We go in the next room, and next to his chair where he sits with his wife and watches TV was a box. He opens the box, pulls out a diary, and it's written partially in English, partially in Japanese. And as I read it, it was a guy's journal, and he was talking about how he went to university in the States, and then when the war started, like any patriotic young man, he went back to Japan to fight for his country. And he was thinking that once the war's over, he's going to go back to Puerto Rico. Once the war's over, he's going to go back to the States and finish his degree. He talked about the other men out drinking and whoring. He didn't want any part of that. He had a sweetheart. Her picture was glued to it. And he talked about his mother. He had so much respect for his mother. And I'm like, Johnny, this is amazing. Where did you get this? And I see this old man in his 70s who never shared this story break down. And he said, I took it off of him. Ooh. He took it off of him because he was the one who took this young man's life. Yeah. He had never told his wife, his daughter, his granddaughter, anybody. He never told this story because men are stoic. Men are supposed to do what they're supposed to do. Men are supposed to provide and protect, and they're supposed to take care of their family. They're not supposed to have any emotions. This man tested me to see if I could be the one to carry on his story. He was struggling his entire life with the reality that this man who wrote this journal, his life ended there, but he got to go on and have children, get married, start a life. He had an insurance company. He had granddaughters. Right. Never said a word, was going to take it with him to his grave and couldn't bear. God sent me to him so our paths would cross so he could get it off his chest. So, men's mental health, since the beginning of time, this is something we need to address and something I'm very passionate about. And my time in the military, maybe that's what it was for, so I could see what it was like firsthand for men to be suffering in that extreme scenario, and then also just in normal life, trying to trip over ourselves and figure out how to navigate it, how to do things. Yeah. And so it's really just put me in touch with that. Yeah.
Wow. That is an amazing story.
That's an amazing story. Yeah.
Powerful
Sorry.
Crazy.
Wow. Well, we're going to land the plane here, but
Yeah.
the thing about mental wellness, and that's, that is what our podcast is about. It's the mental and physical wellness. And we so appreciate having you on here.
Yes.
And that story right there is
Thank you.
gripping. And I will not forget that story.
Absolutely.
The thing about it is our statement that we have, that we close out our podcast, is that wellness is not perfection, but it's progress.
Yeah.
Can you comment on that statement?
100%. Grow through the tears. Like I said, grow through the tears. You're going to wake up and go, wait a second, some days, I thought I did everything right. Why did I lose this business opportunity? Why did I get blindsided with these divorce papers? Why did, this relationship fall apart? Because it wasn't meant for you, and there's better things meant for you. Life goes like this, man. Life goes like this. You have to lean in, and it's constant. I am not afraid of death. If it's my time, thank you for this ride. When you have a positive perspective, when you're walking through a season of hell, know that the next season is going to be better, and you're going to take all those lessons from walking through that season of hell with you, and you're going to be smarter and better for it. That's why we stick to wellness. That's why we keep working. That's why we face it. Yeah. It's continuous. It's constant.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's so good, man. So good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
Well, guys, Dual Coast Podcast, episode 6. Chris, thank you so much for being with us from Puerto Rico. Really appreciate you being on.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for
so
having
much.
me. I appreciate
Absolutely. Signing off, guys. Take care. Russ.
Thanks,
it. Thanks,
Chris.
guys.
All right.
Enjoy. All right.